All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today, and welcome to our very first take on our JA Eduspark Industry Tours virtual format. We're excited to have you. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a brief introduction to Junior Achievement. My name is Molly Baines, and I'm the Career Success Manager, so I work on our JA JobSpark and JA Eduspark programs. Also on the call, we have Cindy Kaczynski. She's my supervisor and the Career Success Director. So we are here for follow-up contact information and anything you may need. And we just appreciate you being on the call today. So our mission at Junior Achievement is to empower young people to own their future success. We do this through hands-on experiential learning opportunities in multiple areas, career exploration, employability and life skills, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and philanthropy. So for any more information about our student programs, we've worked really hard this year to kind of pivot what we do to a virtual format for our students. And we're excited to share that information with you, and then also what we do with our students in a non-COVID time. So for more information on that, please contact myself or Cindy, and we'll be sure to connect you with our awesome colleagues at JA to get all of that information to you. Our JA Eduspark initiative was created in 2018, and these industry tours provide our educators with many experiential learning opportunities provided by employers like the Indianapolis Indians today to give short practical experiences in a specific industry. You'll have the opportunity to connect what you learned today to your classroom and enrich and strengthen your student instruction that will help them with their student learning and help them kind of decide what it is they may want to do post high school. So a few housekeeping items. For those of you who signed up before December 4th, we did send out an event kit, and due to the holidays and just the pandemic in general, there is some delay with getting those to you, so we appreciate your patience. It has great information about our JA programs, this program in particular, and some fun swag from Junior Achievement. So be on the lookout for that. I promise it will still be very exciting, even if you didn't receive it before today's event. Also, as we go, we're going to kick it over to the Indians here in a little bit, but please be sure to type your questions either in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be sure to monitor that and get all of your questions answered as we go. And then a couple more things. We will have a survey that we send out following today's tour, and we encourage you to please fill that out. It really helps us as we plan for future industry tours, both virtual or in person, and we really value that feedback. We'll also be sending out certificates for all of you who have participated today to make sure that you receive your PGP points and just certification that you completed our tour. So with that being said, we will kick it over to the Indians and we'll have them introduce themselves and then go from there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Molly. I appreciate the introduction and appreciate everybody's time to listen to us. I guess I'll kick things off here and start the intro.
Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to let you guys know, Molly and Cindy, Jo is in. She said she just needs to let you guys let her in.
Perfect. We just made her a panelist.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Speed.
No problem. Welcome, Jo. So I'll kick things off, introductions, and we can go through the others. My name is Brian Spizak. I'm the Director of Business Systems and Talent here with the Indianapolis Indians. I've been here for 13 years now, so a long time. I went to Ball State University from Muncie, Indiana. Went to Ball State University while I was in school at Ball State. Did a few things, spent some time while I was in college working at a high school where I coached football and baseball for that high school, local high school, Muncie Central. And then while I was a senior at Ball State, I did an internship here with the Indians. I also worked at the ticket office at Ball State, getting some experience in sports management at the ticket office at Ball State. So did my internship here with the Indians in 2007. The following year, position opened up where they felt like I'd be a good fit to help run the box office. So I ran the box office that following year, stayed in the ticket office and ticket operations for the next 10 to 12 years. This past year, moved into more of a role where I oversee a lot of the business systems we use, so the software pieces that we use, and try to kind of increase functionality, enhance customer experience, fan experience here at the ballpark. And I also do a lot of our hiring. So I run our internship program and work with the other staff members and hiring managers on recruiting for full-time positions as well as part-time positions. So, and I've been in that role for about a year now. So that's pretty much about me, my career trajectory. I guess I'll kick it to Carrie if you want to go next.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Kerry Vick. I'm the Director of Tickets, Premium Services, and Events here at Victory Field. I'm kind of the elder statesman of this group. I've got a very similar story as what Brian does, similar career path. I'm a Hoosier native, born and raised up in Auburn, Indiana. Drove down I-69 to go to school at Ball State, and drove farther down I-69 to come to Indianapolis, where I got an internship in the summer of 2000 in the ticket office like Brian. And similarly, just had some opportunities open up for me along the way. I started out as a box office manager. After that internship was over, spent a lot of my time doing ticket services and ticketing operations, and then slowly started to get into the premium side of sports, which is a growing part of sports and hospitality. It's really anytime a ticket is more than a ticket. So if it includes food and beverage or hospitality or social gathering areas, things like that, that becomes kind of a premium seat. So it encompasses our suite level. We've got a bar and grill area. We've got a couple large picnic areas. So all of those things are sort of under my umbrella. And then I also, in about 2012 or so, started taking over the events department here, which really wasn't a department. It was mostly just me figuring out what to do with the ballpark when the team is on the road. So over the past handful of years, we started to try to utilize Victory Field in any number of ways. We do some community events that we'll talk about, I'm sure, that Joe's a big part of. And we do a lot of rental events. We'll do some public events that we got a lot of unique opportunities this past year, for better or worse, to do some public events out here, things like movie nights and a car and bike auto show. We did a few golf events as well. So a wide variety of things that kind of fall into that events bucket that I kind of oversee as well. So that's my story. I'll kick it. I'm just going to go right down the line. Joey's next underneath my picture. You want to go next, pal?
Sure thing. I guess no one else got the memo that we were supposed to wear blue today. It's unfortunate. My name's Joey Stevenson. I'm the Director of Field Operations for the Indians. The old term that would have been used to describe my title would have been head groundskeeper. I grew up in Dwight, Illinois. It's a town of about 4,000 folks. Grew up on a family farm. And got the itch to work in turf at a young age. I started at 15 years old working at our local golf course, Dwight Country Club, and then I would work evenings at a local, not local, but an independent league baseball team. That's where I got really the idea that someone could have an agronomy degree and work in baseball. So that led me to Purdue University, where I graduated in 2006 with a Bachelor's of Science in Turf Science. While at Purdue, did a few internships with the Kansas City Royals, Philadelphia Phillies in 2006 and 2005, and ended up here in 2007. Been here ever since. My job really is to, one, take care of the playing surface, but also whatever Carrie and Spees and Kim and Joe kind of dream up, try to help facilitate that when it comes to using the field. Kim, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Kim Stobick, Director of Marketing and Promotions. My story is a little different than theirs, where I was born in Indiana, but actually grew up in Michigan. So I went to Western Michigan University, another MAC school. Really didn't know what I wanted to do. I got a degree in communications and had my first internship in a catering company, and then actually in our athletic department. And that's where I was able to get continue and got my master's after that. So I got 2 more years at Western and actually got my master's in sport management. But a part of that master's program, I had to also find an internship outside of the department. And that's where I actually also went to independent baseball and realized that you really could get a career behind the scenes at sports. Fell in love, obviously I always played sports and thought that that's what I wanted to continue to do. Unfortunately, when I graduated during the recession. So jobs were really hard to come by. So I decided to keep my foot in sports and went to the Colts Pro Shop. Was offered a full-time role there with that outside agency with the Colts Pro Shop, but I decided to turn it down and do an internship with the Indianapolis Indians. Did CR was where I started. My internship, once it finished, went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I went where the job was and worked for the AAA team out there. They were the Los Angeles Dodgers affiliate at the time. So excited to see that they got that win in the World Championship. So was out there for 3 years, really worked my way up from community relations to promotions to marketing and sponsorship sales. And then I'm a Hoosier at heart, so I wanted to come home. This is where my family was, and was able to come here as marketing manager 2014. And then in November of 2016 was awarded the director position and have been here since. Your turn, Joe.
Thanks, Kim. I am unique to this group in that I have no sports background. I am the rookie of staff, and staff is very kind to tease me about it all the time. But I'm actually from Chicago, or what the Chicago suburbs refer to as Chicago. I live 45 minutes northwest of the actual city, but the Chicago suburbs we claim are the same as Chicago. So I grew up in Vernon Hills and loved my time up there, and ultimately went to Bradley University, which is a small school in Peoria, Illinois. It's 3 hours south. Go Braves. My time there, I became a leader in my sorority, Alpha Chi Omega, and was offered a post-collegiate role as a consultant for the sorority. I traveled the country, visited a lot of really unique, large and big schools, just working with collegians to push their philanthropy, and ultimately was stationed in Miami, Florida for 9 months to build a chapter at Florida International University. And for a Chicago native, that level of temperature and humidity was just not home. If it's Christmas and it's 80 degrees, I am not about it. So decided to move to Indianapolis, where Alpha Chi headquarters was, and got my first fundraising or development role at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I spent 4 years there working on a variety of campaigns, one of which our general manager's daughter was a part of. So got to know the Indians family on an informal level in that capacity. They were a sponsor for one of our LS campaigns, and he was our board chair over at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So got to know his family and got to know a little bit more about the team and what that environment was like. About just over a year ago, was very excited to hear that the Indians were creating a 501c3 foundation and needed some development staff to come on board. So I joined in August. This last year's August, the version of the world that was normal. I spent 3 weeks in a season and just had a bunch of hot dogs and burgers and chicken tenders, and did nothing to support the staff that you are looking at, because they were well seasoned and veterans in the season. But I just got to hang out for those 3 weeks and was promised a robust season in 2020. And we unfortunately did not get to experience that. So I have not worked a full season. Again, staff reminds me of that very often, but I'm looking forward to, knock on wood, a 2021 season and the extension of our foundation. We've been able to do some really great community events, as Carrie and Joey mentioned, and have spent a lot of money just in community dollars, and excited to share all of our work experiences and history with you all. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us chat.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, we'll try to do the best we can and to talk about normal years. This year has been very odd, so most of the stuff that we typically talk about doesn't relate to this year, but we'll cover it a little bit if you guys have questions about that. Molly, I think now we could move to the videos since we can't be together. We have a few videos we put together prior to this, and we'll be happy to show those to you. Let me share my screen real quick.
Hi, I'm Andrew Kappas, broadcaster here with the Indianapolis Indians. Welcome to beautiful Victory Field, where unfortunately we can't be together right now, so we're excited to bring the ballpark to you. And here today, we're going to take a look behind the scenes in the underbelly of the baseball stadium to take a look at how our crew gets ready behind the scenes. Our first stop on our tour is the clubhouse. From April through September, this room is filled with guys trying to make the major leagues. And this place becomes an extension of home for these guys, as most, not from Indianapolis, not from the state of Indiana, they're from all over the world. So this becomes their home away from home during this entire summer. We've got TVs, we got a kitchen, we got private workout facilities, we got everything they need to compete. A typical day for a player means usually arriving between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game, so their workday typically 9 to 10 hours. Warming up on the field during batting practice, getting some indoor work as well, medical treatment, and of course hanging out with your teammates, all part of your typical day inside the clubhouse. The Indians are just one of 30 teams that provide a last stop to Major League Baseball in AAA. The Indians affiliated with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they've been our parent team since 2005. Some notable names that have worn the Indians uniform in the past, of course, fan favorite Razor Shines in the 1980s, current New York Yankees manager Aaron Boone, American League All-Star Paul Konerko, 2013 NL MVP winner Andrew McCutchen, and current New York Yankees ace Garrett Cole. We're in the underbelly of the stadium now, where a system of tunnels connects everything that is the nucleus of Victory Field. Visitors clubhouse, home clubhouse, the grounds area, everything centers back out into the field. And right now, we're gonna go take a look at Joey Stevenson's grounds area and all of his sweet toys. Here in the groundskeeping storage area, everything we need to make Victory Field look absolutely beautiful is stored. As you can see, Joey's sweet, sweet toys, just some of them here behind us. And this is so key to keeping our field the best in all of baseball. Joey and our outstanding grounds crew works very hard each and every day, whether there's a game that night or not. Whether it's cutting the grass, fertilizing that grass, manicuring the infield, working on the pitcher's mound, the bullpens, they cover it all if you see it out on the field here at the Vic. Our team is proud to be a gathering place for all of Central Indiana and Indianapolis, and we cannot wait to welcome you back through the gates of Victory Field. Be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at Indy Indians for upcoming events. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and roll Tribe.
Welcome to Victory Field. I'm Kerry Vick, Director of Premium Services and Events. Our organization is thrilled to give you an exclusive peek into the biggest off-season project in our stadium's history, the Elements Financial Club. The best ballpark in baseball just got better.
Great. Thanks, Molly. So I guess we can go back to Joey now and answer that question about the machinery and the cost and the maintenance involved with all that.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of things you saw in the video and a couple of things you didn't see, but we probably have 10 to 12 pieces of equipment that really play an integral role in maintaining the turf and the grounds at Victory Field. I'll just run through a quick list. So we have a large mower that you'll see that make the outfield stripes, a 72-inch reel mower there. We have 2 walk-behind greens mowers, we call them. They're 26-inch cuts. We have a tractor like you'd see driving down any road in Indiana that we've had since basically the ballpark opened 25 years ago. Have a handful of push mowers, Workmans or Gators, we call them. We have a spray rig that we can spray, a 200-gallon sprayer that we can spray various fungicides, insecticides, and pesticides and nutrients that the turf needs. A top dresser that basically drops sand or any sort of soil on the turf. We have an ABI machine that we call it that helps us drag the infield and laser grade our infield skin in the off season. We have a Procore, which is just an aerifier. And then another small tractor. So if you add it all up, it comes out to just over $200,000. But like I said, that tractor we've had for 25 years, and it will probably outlive me here. So it really channels down to about $10,000 a year in equipment costs over 25 years. So it's not terrible. But we do have quite a bit of equipment for only managing 2.5 acres. We'll say that. And we maintain all that equipment ourselves in-house. So I'm a borderline shade tree mechanic as well.
Nice. Thanks, Joey. In a room that they didn't show that's also down there close by the ground shop is our umpire room. Umpires are people too, believe it or not. They have career paths. They grew up getting experience and trying to go into that trade. Joey's the closest to him and actually has conversations with him probably on a regular basis. Joey, is there any insight to their careers and how they got their start in umpiring?
Man, I get all the questions. Yeah, an umpire is very similar to a minor league baseball player. When they graduate high school, instead of some will go to college, but a lot of them enter what they call umpiring school. So they'll train. I don't know how long it lasts, a handful of years probably. But they'll go to umpire school and they work their way up just like a minor league or major league player would. They're monitored closely. They're evaluated all the time with the invention of pitch tracks now, where if you watch a playoff game, it'll show where a ball or strike is. We can now evaluate umpires if they got balls or strikes right, and that can help determine if they move from single A to double A, or if they move from single A and they have to find a new career. So they're evaluated constantly with the technology now that they can be graded pretty consistently. So they'll move their way up as best they can. It takes most of the guys, when they get to AAA, they're usually probably low 30s, it would be my guess. So they've been in the minors for 6 to 7 years to work their way up. It's very difficult to get a major league job. The folks in the major league umpires just don't leave their jobs. I just did a quick Google search yesterday. An entry-level salary for a rookie Major League Baseball umpire was $150,000 a year. But someone like Joe West, who has glasses that are an inch thick because he can't see and he's an umpire, will make upwards of $500,000 a year. And they get a per diem of $350 a day. They fly first class everywhere. So there's no reason why a major league umpire would choose to leave that career making that amount of money and the amount of stuff they get. Where a minor league umpire might be in the $2,000 a month range. So you can see the draw to get to Major League Baseball, but it's extremely difficult.
Thanks, Joe. So the other video highlighted Kerry Vick, who's on this call. So who better to ask about that area, that brand new space than you? I know you were involved with the planning stages from basically the conception all the way through. Can you talk a little bit about, that process, who it all involved and how long it took, that sort of thing?
Yeah, and I'd say the process probably began as a result of the ballpark that was built when it was built. So Victory Field dates back to 1996, and at the time, across the industry, you were seeing trends in how all the stadiums were being built. So those usually included a ton of seats and a ton of suites, but nothing really in between. So either you're like a bank or a law firm, the high-end corporate client who can get that fully inclusive luxury suite, or you're just a commoner like everybody else sitting in 20-inch greenback seats shoulder to shoulder with other people. And back at the time, it was fine because people were generally coming to a game to watch a game of baseball anyways. But now things have kind of shifted. The emotions of the fans has kind of shifted a little bit over time, where they're not just coming out to watch 9 innings of baseball. They're coming out to take in the ballpark, take in the experiences, the sights, the smells, the food, the drinks, all that kind of stuff. And more fans these days want a little bit more leg room, or they want a little bit more of some privacy or exclusivity or something else that's built into their ticket. So since we were built when we were built, we didn't have any of that kind of stuff. So over time, we've seen the need to adjust. We've seen all these new major league stadiums, even minor league stadiums, being built with new club spaces and new private boxes and all kinds of like middle tier products that they can offer both the common fans as well as their corporate clients as well. So we knew that day was coming. We figured it was going to come around the middle teens, around like 2016 or so, when we were going to start a new lease with our landlord, the Capital Improvement Board. So we started planning probably in like 2012 for this kind of thing. And we started detailing out everything that's on our wish list, all the areas around the ballpark that we think we could get better mileage out of that real estate. And that area behind home plate was one of them, where you had the best view in the ballpark, but it was underutilized inventory. We didn't sell a ton of those seats up there, even though you had a great view. People were having to walk up. There wasn't concessions up there, and everyone just wanted to be as close to the field as possible. So we figured that was a good area to kind of try to renovate and refresh. So first we did a suite renovation where we took all of our suites on the first base side and all on the third base side, gutted them, tore them out, updated them, and just gave them a complete refresh inside and out. And then we kept the suites behind home plate for a couple extra years so we can pool up some more money and do one big renovation up there. So we tore out some suites. We designed this new, just very open concept where we've got a couple of different types of ticket products out front, including 10 private loge boxes, we call them, or like theater boxes, that you can put 4 to 6 people in at a time. Those are company owned in quarter season packages. And then we have 3 rows of more communal table seating that you can get if you're just on a date night, or if your company wants to buy 100 of those tickets for a given night, you can do that as well. And then we've got about 4,500 square feet of indoor space as well that can be utilized by our suite holders on a game day. There's a full service bar up there. There's a lot of open table seating, and it's an area that we can use whenever the team is on the road or we're in off season. And that was another dire need of ours is how to keep the lights on in the off season for 7 months when the Indians aren't here, or for like an 8-day road trip when the team is on the road. So that gives us an area that we can rent out. We can host a wide variety of events, luncheons and banquets and breakfasts and wedding receptions and all kinds of stuff up in that area. So it really served multiple purposes for us. But again, that process started back in 2012 when we just started dreaming up this stuff internally. In about late 2013, we talked to our architects, had them do sort of a general mock-up and rendering, and then we spent a couple of years kind of tweaking that, waiting for the right opportunity, and then we started getting more partners in place, getting engineers to draw up that stuff, make sure it was all feasible. We took the level directly underneath the club and made that all new office space, which was a whole nother issue that we were tackling, is that when we moved into Victory Field, we had about a 10-person full-time staff. And this past year, we're up to about 65, counting full-time interns. So we had to shoehorn those guys into every little nook and cranny. So we saw that as an opportunity to create more office space as well. So we've got a whole second floor of new cubicles and offices and meeting rooms, and then the third floor with all new premium and event space. So we got it built just in time to cancel this past season. So we haven't fully put it to use yet. We've got a few hits and a couple small events, and we used it for some of those public events. And so far, so good. But we're really looking forward to taking full advantage of it this coming spring.
Vic, what was the biggest thing you learned during that process? Because you had to deal with architects, you had to deal with city officials. What was, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'd say just how collaborative everything needs to be. I mean, we were having weekly meetings with a variety of engineers and interior designers and architects and landlords and city officials, and everyone needs to get paid too, so that you kind of understand quickly how these kinds of things, you're not just paying for the parts. They get wildly expensive because you've got a lot of consulting fees and engineering fees, just people who are drawing up things in their offices. And then, so you got so many different parties involved, communicating all the time on this. And then I think the other thing I learned is how many things go wrong during a construction process. You'd like to think that you got all these experts in their craft detailing out every little nook and cranny by the inch. But then once paper turns into hammer and nails and parts, anything and everything can go wrong. And just the problem solving that we go through throughout the process got to be pretty exhausting from time to time.
Did you anticipate a global pandemic to go wrong?
I figured we got to the point where anything that could go wrong was going wrong. So yeah. Kind of assumed that was next in line for us.
Well, that kind of segues into trends in the industry, because that was something we saw as a trend, and we took the opportunity to take advantage of it and build something that was trending towards what other sports organizations were doing. Another trend, I guess, is analytics, and this is a field that I would recommend promoting to students as an option for them moving forward. There's going to be a lot of jobs, I think, not only in player development for analytics, but also business development. Business development and business analytics is becoming a huge thing. I think if kids are interested in math and statistics, it's definitely something that the sports industry will want to hire for. And I guess my question would be to Kim. What are the biggest challenges you think we faced trying to incorporate analytics into what we do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think obviously this year of all years shows us how everything is moving digital. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we see as a team is making sure that everything's talking to each other. We've got our CRM is obviously where all of our data is being held, needs to be able to talk and communicate with our ticketing system, which then needs to be kicked back to our email provider. And then we have digital paid ads, we have social media involved, we have connected TVs to get, again, even more data from what people are watching and when they're seeing our ads, and then how to prospect people versus retarget people into our marketing little funnel. So a lot of it's a lot of communication because digital is going, is where obviously the trend is going, and that includes creative too, and making sure that everything is motion. We've got to catch your eye, and we've got to do it in a very, very quick time frame because how quickly you guys scroll through your phone. If something doesn't catch your eye, you're going to move on. They say about anywhere from 3 seconds to 6 seconds is all that we have to see if we can sell you on a ticket. And to be able to sell you on a ticket, we need to be able to get that ad in front of you on average 7 times for that to actually have you make that purchase. So obviously with everything going digital, there's so much data, there's so much analytics that we can pull, and sometimes that's overwhelming. What analytics do we need to look at? What data do we need to pull out? How do I market to someone like Carrie versus someone like Joe? There's just so much information out there that we probably even barely scratched the surface. We just hired a business analytics, I forget his full title for Bill, but that's what he does. He's looking into the numbers. He's looking into what our history and ticket sales have been. He's diving into what has really made you click, and how often you had to see that to be able to click. So that's been our biggest struggle, is making sure everything gets integrated into each other. And then if one platform's not performing, how do you know when to move to a different platform? Because then you start from square one. So for example, we've changed our email provider, I think 3 times since I've been at the Indians, and I've been with the Indians now for 6 years. And each time you do that, then you need to whitelist your email account because they're not seeing that domain, and that domain you're obviously paying for, but you need to get that whitelisted. Otherwise, my emails that I'm paying for are going into your spam folder. And it's a lot of pixels, a lot of behind the scene things that like Brian mentioned, there's a lot of room for growth there. And a lot of different fields that people can get into that they might have interest in, whether it is the data, whether it is the creative side of things and getting that motion, whether it's the website and learning more of the coding that goes on behind the scenes with the pixeling. So there's a lot there, and definitely something if your students are interested, a great opportunity to get involved.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, one other trend that you see most of the time in major league teams is the creation of a foundation. Each organization on the major league level seems to be trending towards getting a foundation to support community projects. We have done that. It's relatively new, since maybe a year ago. It's a lengthy process. Of course, you got to get supporters for that. But Joe runs that foundation or that charities. So I was hoping Joe could kind of discuss the process behind that and what all it took.
Sure. Yeah. The first half of that answer is everything exciting about the United States, and that's the IRS, right? Well, you want to make sure that all of your paperwork is in line, and in order to get a 501c3, which means that you are recognized as a nonprofit by the government, you have to create a board of directors with at least 3 leadership positions: a treasurer, a secretary, and a president. We're lucky to have a wonderful board of directors for Indianapolis Indians Charities that trusts our staff and also really formally acknowledges the community history that the Indians have had on our community relations side. We have a great reputation in the community for saying yes to community partners, to have organizations come out to the ballpark, to what we call activate during games, and to share their mission with our fans. The next piece of it is to get a bylaws document created, articles of incorporation, and then you can officially apply for a 501c3 status. The government takes a long time to review those documents and asks a lot of questions. They took about 6 or 7 months to review our paperwork, and we officially got our status notification in October of 2019. So we just celebrated our first official birthday this past October. And what a year to create a foundation in a global pandemic. But it made a lot of sense for us, especially, outside of the official process of creating a 501c3. There are a lot of informal things that you want to do, right? Like Kim was mentioning, you want to grab people's attention visually. So having a logo that aligns with your team side, the Indian side, having it be closely enough associated with that brand, but unique in out how we can mutually benefit from a partnership and bringing those partners out to the ballpark and writing them some checks for what they do. And then we have 4 pillars. So we don't tend to support community partners if they don't touch one of our 4 pillars, the largest being youth development, and that's sports, right? There's a million reasons for us to give back to our community through sports, and we do that in a lot of different ways. Our second pillar is family success. So we have a partnership with Riley and Children's Theraplay on the healthcare side. Education, which is obviously huge right now with virtual learning. And I saw a question there a little bit we'll touch on in the chat about how we are giving to partners through teachers' treasures and organizations like that. And then finally, neighborhood development. And that looks like field renovations for us. We poured about $50,000 into Forest Manor Park on the east side so that some of our smaller leagues locally could play on a safe place and have things like lighting and paint refresh and all those kind of things. So it is a lengthy process, but certainly worth it. And we've had a lot of, I'll say ironically, fun being able to give back to partners, especially this year in ways we never would have and wouldn't have the creativity to come up with if it was a normal year.
Thanks, Joe. I'll briefly go over, some of you may not know how we're structured from a business standpoint, and I can explain that a little bit, and we can talk about how the different departments we have. But I guess it's important to note that we're affiliated, most all affiliated minor league teams have no control over salaries or rosters for the on-field talent. So we don't pay players or coaches. That's ran by the major league level. And we give the team a place to play, practice, and train during the year, which is a good arrangement. Allows us to focus on everything that happens inside and outside the ballpark from a fan perspective. Every ownership group is different in minor league baseball. The way we're structured is we're community-owned public company with shareholders and a board of directors. So they hold us accountable for the decisions we make, and we have to run things up those channels. So we're effectively ran like a small business. Other small businesses have the same type of departments we have, from communications, marketing, sales, graphic design, operations, facilities, you name it. So that's why I always recommend when I'm speaking to students, college age or high school age, find an area, things that you are interested in, whether it's accounting, could be communications, could be sales, could be design if you're more design oriented, and get a degree in that field. You can work in sports with those degrees. I think the biggest piece of advice I can give to kids before they graduate is to avoid the type of degree that I got, which was sport administration. It's great. It kind of sets you up for a job in sports if you get good experience, but it doesn't make you very marketable if sports doesn't work out. Accounting does. You can go into other industries. If you don't like sports, you can get out of sports and go into accounting for another industry. So that's the biggest piece of advice I have for students before they go into college is find something that you'd be able to market yourself to sports organizations and get a degree in that, and then there will be jobs available in sports for those things. I guess the biggest thing right now is sales. I think somebody asked the question, what jobs are in high demand? Sales will always be in high demand. Anybody who wants to get into sales, there's going to be jobs in sports for sales year round, every year, doesn't matter. After this pandemic, there's going to be jobs available in sales. And one of the good things about that is you have the potential to earn the most amount of money in sales. So if you're going into sports, you're either not doing it for the money or you're getting into sales because you like money. So like any industry, sales is where the money's at. We have 40 full-time employees. And like I said, of those 40 employees vary in terms of degrees and in terms of majors, what they studied in college. Company culture is important to us. It's something that we work on each and every day, every year. One word that we use consistently and are tired of hearing about is cohesion. And everybody on the call knows what I'm talking about there. So I would probably classify our company culture as family oriented. And those of you who have families know that there's good things and bad things as it relates to family. Good things is you become very close with them, especially in sports where you're working long hours. You become close with your family members, but it also creates some drama from time to time, which is where the cohesion comes in. So I guess Kerry's been here the longest. He knows about the culture that we've created here. He knows what it was like back in the Stone Ages. If you could briefly just go over kind of how we've evolved over the years.
Yeah, thanks for the old comments. Yeah, it's I've been here since 2000, so that kind of spans the time when we were a relatively new ballpark to a relatively old ballpark, as I kind of touched on earlier. But staffing wise too, like I said, I mean, we only had about 10 people when we moved over to Victory Field, and what separates us, I mean, and you look at a major league organization, take it the Colts, the Pacers, the Cubs, any major league team, and they're usually around like 400 employees, 500 employees, something like that. But we're really doing all the same stuff as those guys are doing in terms of the marketing and the sponsorships and the stadium operations and the facility work. We're just doing it with a much smaller fleet of people over here. But there's single A teams that are doing it with much less people than what we're doing. And when I started, I think we had about 20 full-time staff members, and I was just a box office manager. I had one of those sport administration degrees, those meaningless ones that Brian referenced, which is just kind of like a general studies sort of thing. And I didn't know what else I wanted to do. But so I started off in ticket department where I was doing all of our own flyers and business writing and things like that now we've got special experts like Kim and other people on her staff that do that kind of stuff, that have like real deep knowledge and training on those things. In my day, you could have a very shallow understanding of how that stuff works and still be the ones doing it. But nowadays, we've gotten to the point where we've got kind of an expert in the field in all these areas. So as Brian mentioned, if you know what kind of work you want to do, get training in that area. But it is a big difference between being a small organization and a large organization. We still wear a lot of hats here. If we were at a major league level organization, there might be 5 people that all do the stuff that I do. But to me, that's an advantage. That's one of the things I love about being in a small company, is that you do get to dabble in a lot of different things. So even though I'm overseeing our events department, I'm also getting to work on major renovation projects, and everyone on here is doing 2, 3, 4, 5 different things that if they were at a large organization, they wouldn't be able to do, because there's several other people who are specialized in those areas. So that's kind of a main difference from a staffing and personnel side.
Thanks, Carrie. Kim, you probably run one of the largest departments in the office with a lot of staff. Can you talk about what it takes to, or I guess the components that make up the marketing department and the jobs that are available to students that might be going into marketing?
Yeah, the nice thing about marketing is it really is encompassing a lot of different areas. Really, a lot of things could fall under marketing, but our team is structured where we've got myself, but then we have a digital marketing manager and a social media coordinator, and they're really the ones behind what I talked about earlier, our email marketing, website, social media content, and then helping with our paid social as well, which is a large budget, but really knowing the market and what's going to, like I said, you've got those 6 seconds. So really what's going to get them to click. So really that's what their focus is. And then we've got our creative side. So obviously we work very, very closely with our creative team. We've got motion and static graphic designers. Like I said, motion's really where it's going. So we've got our graphic designers also dabbling in that too, making sure that they're progressing their skill set. And then we've got broadcast and production. So anything that you see in park, in terms of our camera work on the video boards, and then also having that communication upstairs with our control room and our TV partners. So WNDY is where we'll be for a couple games next year. Is being on the communication on when commercials are going to start happening, and how we can't go and do certain things on the field yet until we go to commercial break. So we've got another person that oversees that. And then we've got our game presentation and promotions manager, who is kind of the other half of that, is anything in park. That's any of that fun stuff that you see from promotions, on field, giveaways, any sort of specialty weekends like Decade Weekends, Marvel, Nickelodeon, any of that involvement, that's really going to fall underneath her. So again, it's a lot of different areas. We all dabble in basically everything, but it's really overall obviously that communication and talking to one another, and then seeing how you can help one person out, and really make sure the best product's going forward.
Thanks, Kim. Joey, you hire night crew guys a lot, some help during the season. Who do you target typically for that? Can anybody apply for those?
Yeah, for our part-time position, that's typically someone that gets here around 5 and works till about the end of the game. But yeah, we target basically anyone who can do anything. We have folks that are kids that are 16 years old. We have one gentleman that's been on our crew, Paul Drew, for 20 some years. That's 65 years old. But we do get a lot of teachers actually that tend to have some time in the summer, and they choose to spend their time at the ballpark. So it's really all sorts of walks of life, from people in sales to people who are still in college to teachers, retired folks. It's all over the map.
That's
Yeah, one thing to add on that, Spees, is our tribe team. Obviously, Joey's talking about some game day employees, and we've got our promotional team that falls underneath our realm as well. And a lot of that is high school, college age kids that just want to get their foot in the door. And honestly, that's where I started, is just getting that game day experience. And we've had people that find out if this is what they want to do. If it's something that is just a summer position for them. We've got some that know, hey, this is not really what I want to do. And we had actually one of our interns go into law school last year. So it's a great stepping stone to really kind of get your footing in and see if this is what you want to do.
Yeah, it's a good segue into kind of what we were going to go over next, which is our internship program and some of the opportunities we have here with the Indians. And that's a good point about the law degree. You know, that translates into sports industry as well. You know, a lot of people who are sports agents have law degrees, or work for sports agencies for sure. So I guess I'll talk about the internship program in general, the full-time interns, and then the part-time employees, and we can open it up to you guys if you have any questions after that. But like I said before, I run our internship program, and typically every year we're hiring 14 full-time interns. So because we are looking for people to work for us full-time, we usually recruit upperclassmen in college or postgraduate college students, because it's a 9-to-5 job. They start in February and go all the way through the end of the season, which is middle of September. So 14 full-time interns. We're targeting the upperclassmen. And we hire for marketing. We hire for business ops, stadium ops, ticket services, merchandise, field operations, sponsorship activation, communications, you name it. And really, my job is to recruit local, regional, and sometimes national universities to attract students to come work for us. It's a paid internship. It's a great way to get an immersive type of experience in a sports industry, because I like to say this should be the last internship those folks should do. So when we're recruiting people and we get applications for these 14 positions that we post, I would say on average we get about 1,000 applications for those 14 positions. So we're not going to interview 1,000 people. We're going to interview probably close to 100. And then of those 100, we'll seriously consider probably 25 to 30. And the best advice I can give is for young students is get as much experience as you possibly can so you can get that on a resume. And then the other piece to that is, the resume will get you in the door. The resume will get you a sit-down meeting. Your interview skills are what's going to propel you to get a job offer. So your interpersonal skills, your salesmanship skills, you got to be able to sell yourself in an interview. You're going to get asked questions there where you have to give a confident response. So for high school students, it's difficult to go through that. Even for college students, it's difficult to go through that process of being asked serious questions and giving serious responses. But the ones who practice that the most and the ones who do those mock interviews tend to do better from a marketability standpoint. They get offered more jobs because there's a lot of students out there getting experience, but there's not a lot of folks practicing the thing that's going to seal the deal for you, which is those interview skills. And when it comes to resumes, really what we're looking for is just somebody who went out and got some experience. When we're recruiting college students, we're recruiting not really for the degree they're getting, unless it's a specific job that requires a little bit of schooling. For instance, graphic design, we're we're going to target somebody who's got a design background. But you can supplement that with some experience and get a job offer. For instance, Joey hired an assistant groundskeeper who doesn't have a turf science background, which we typically target turf science backgrounds for that type of position. But he went out and got 2 or 3 years of experience and sold himself in an interview and was able to get that job. So those things are important. I would say the biggest thing we look for in interviews, the questions that we ask are more character related. We want to make sure that we're hiring people who have solid character type traits. So, we'll ask questions like, what are your mentors? What type of characteristics do your mentors possess? And we want them to give an intelligent response on that. We want them to tell us who they looked up to and why, right? So that's why it's important in high school and middle school to have those mentors that can hold them accountable to their behavior and their choices and their decisions, so that they can speak to that stuff intelligently when they're getting those types of positions. For the high school kids, like Joey mentioned, we have some game day opportunities where I've been really excited about it the past few years, is being able to give college or young college kids and usually upperclassmen high school age, because there is a 16-year-old requirement that we can't get past. So those 16 years old and above, we target for game day workers, ushers, ticket takers, ticket sellers, working center field, working the tribe team, like Kim mentioned. And a lot of us, as you've seen here, haven't gone anywhere for 13 years. So if that student gets the experience on game days, 3-4 years down the road, they still have those connections with us. And if they show interest in a full-time internship, they already have a leg up because we know them, we can vouch for their character, and they're 100% get an opportunity. But that's where it starts, really. You go out there, you show that you're available, that you're trustworthy, that you're here. The work is not difficult, but it will tell them whether or not this is an industry for them or not. I guess, Carrie, you've done this longer than I have in terms of looking for part-time and full-time help. What do you look for when you're hiring?
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. All the stuff that you hear about, networking and resume builders, that all is meaningful, and unfortunately, that's the days of thinking that you got a leg up on a position with an organization like the Indians just because you grew up in Indianapolis and you're a baseball fan and used to come to some games. And we still hear that quite a bit, but you do need, as Brian mentioned, if we get 1,000 resumes just for internships every year, you really do have to stand out there. And there could be certain departments that might only be interviewing 5 people and they might've got 3, in-house recommendations, somebody who knows our boss or an executive or one of our top clients or something like that. And we're like, yeah, okay, we'll give them a shot. We'll interview them. So, knowing people, means something. But yeah, you really just need to kind of prove that you're better than the competition, and the competition is fierce these days. Every school across America has got a sports management program of some kind. And again, that's only a small percentage of all the people that we can appeal to when you're talking about people with marketing degrees and sales degrees and turf science degrees and accounting degrees and all these other folks that want to work in baseball or want to work in sports in general, because things have changed a lot in the sports industry. There are ways to make money. There are ways to have really good job satisfaction. It's an exciting industry to work in. You're surrounded by a lot of other sports-minded people with a lot of passion in it, and it's a fun area to work in. And the organizations have gotten really smart at how to operate, how to make money, and you can afford to bring in lots of employees these days. But yeah, it's very competitive, and you need to know somebody. You've got to have some experiences to hang your hat on, and then you got to rock it in the interview. And just a lot of it is just kind of being genuine and showing who you are and showing that that's really what you want to do. And the internship that's really the best way to get in, and it'll kind of separate those who are built for it and those who aren't. And it's not for everybody, and an internship is really a lot of times the way you understand that. If you're going to have to go through the grind, kind of stomp through the mud for a little while as you get going. And if that's not worth it to you, no harm, no foul. You get out and you find yourself a regular job. But if you make it through the internship, you'll know if that's where your heart is, and that's something that you can see yourself doing long term.
And one other good piece of advice you can give your students is assign them a task. If they show interest in any industry, really, it doesn't have to be sports. Go find 3 to 5 professionals that are currently working that job and have them ask those people thoughtful questions. They don't have to take a ton of their time, but maybe 10 minutes, and have a conversation about that industry. And I think you'll be surprised how many people in our industry and others would be willing to talk to a student briefly that's interested in getting into that industry. Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot here real quick. Community relations, for whatever reason, has historically been a position when we do post it. It creates a huge buzz. We get 200 applications in 4 days, super competitive. And because of that, we're only able to interview a fraction of those applications. How did you stand out? How would you recommend others stand out in community relations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the community relations side of sports is the feel-good stuff, right? It's the really rewarding part of being a part of a sports organization that, minor league and major league baseball teams have a platform that they have logo recognition, they have a brand, and for, obviously major league teams, they have millions of fans walking through their gates, and for minor league, we have hundreds of thousands for us, sometimes even up to 1 million in a full season. So I definitely think there is just like a human magnet of being attracted to a role that is a feel-good opportunity for people. I also think, when you look at generational trends, Generation Z, who a lot of our educators are probably working with right now, they tend to be the most community-driven philanthropic generation we've seen in a long, long time. So when you have high school, college level, and post-grad, millions of people in the workforce that have been raised to give back to their community, whose parents donate to causes every year, who are brand loyal, especially as healthcare fundraising takes a really, really strong presence in people's lives. When people are touched by cancer and other diseases, you have families that have grown up giving back. And when you pair that familial trend to a brand that they love, like a baseball team that they also grew up going to with their family and friends, it's kind of the perfect mix. In terms of what I think, our staff and what we would look for if we were expanding our development side and building on the Indianapolis Indians Charities side, I would echo the feedback everyone else has shared here. It comes down to sales. Fundraising is sales, except the person that gives you money doesn't get anything back. And that's a different kind of sell, right? You are asking people for money, but it's not for attendance at a game. It's not for a branded t-shirt. It is for a really good feeling and a really good sleep at night after you get to donate to a cause that you believe in. So what we would encourage people to do is to, certainly what Brian said, get to know the people in the development world. The development world in Indianapolis especially is very, very small. You see a lot of movement from staff in a lot of different nonprofits, which is a good thing because you can usually get someone's ear rather quickly. But even at the high school level, there are ways for high schoolers to fundraise in clubs and have leadership experience in small and large organizations in their town and their neighborhoods, and tracking that revenue, right, which is the development word for sales. In donor development world, that is a really great way to show an employer that you are doing the work and that you have a track record of success. You can also have tracking of your recruitment. If you're recruiting for, again, a club, a team, a sorority, all of those kind of recruitment skills are really, really good to have on the development side as you're beginning to develop boards and committees. Those two skill sets are huge. I think above anything, the nonprofit world is so attracted to people that are like-minded in the philanthropy world. So getting some face time and some institutional knowledge from people who are in that industry will go a long way. And nonprofit world is really hungry for staff that want to give back. And the sports community relations world is a really great, unique way of making a difference there.
Thanks, Joe. So I figured we'd open up to you all if you have any questions for us. Hopefully I was able to answer the ones that have already come in, but we're definitely happy to answer any now if you guys have. And while you guys maybe type that stuff in, some of our past interns, we hire full-time positions, like myself. Kim was a past intern. Carrie was a past intern. We've hired some other past interns now that are working full time, but a lot of them go on and find jobs in sports pretty easily. We have interns with the Pacers, the Colts, the Indy Fuel, IUPUI, Chicago Cubs, Oakland A's, Boston Bruins, LA Rams, Cincinnati FC. The list goes on, but there's a lot of opportunities after those. All right. So question would be, what is your favorite part about the job? I'll go first. I get this question a lot, and it's usually three parts. For me, it's the people I work with, and we talked about that, the culture and the family-oriented environment here. It's the people I work with. It's our reputation in the community. I feel like that is a big part of it's become my identity now, really, that I work for the Indians, and I'm okay with that because our reputation in the community is so positive that I'm okay with that being a part of my identity. And then the third is the leadership team here with the Indians has really done a great job of allowing people to pursue their interests. And in my case, I was able to move into a different role based on my skill sets and interests. So those are the three things for me. Anybody else want to take that one?
I'd say obviously the same, but also that every day is different for me. Obviously in marketing, we always have a different piece of content, different headlines, different things going on that we want to try to focus on. Obviously analytics is changing every single day. So that's the nicest part, is that there's something different for me every day.
And I'll say briefly, open up the gates and seeing all your work kind of come together on a game night or an event night or something like that, where you actually see thousands of people come through, looking forward to having a good time. You're there to show it to them. It just brings the whole ballpark to life. Kind of brings that energy that, there's other things you could be doing on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon, but when you kind of engulf yourself in that kind of energy as part of your job, that's pretty special. That's something you don't get with a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I would just say that I just enjoy the work. Being here for 14 years, I still enjoy coming. We get to come to the ballpark to work every day. That's pretty awesome. Working with the folks that we work with, full time and part time, and just working for this organization that is kind of so tightly woven through just downtown Indianapolis and Indianapolis as a whole.
Yeah, mine would certainly be our staff. We have a ton of fun on staff. We really do. I feel like everybody says that, and that's great too. But there is something very, very unique in a bond that you have in the sports industry that I had not experienced. And then on the professional side, I have had the privilege of helping build a foundation. And I, with the Indians, you kind of have to have this ability to learn by or trial by fire, right? And I like things that are kind of born this way, right? Like it's an opportunity to create something that did not exist before with people that you get to spend hours and hours and hours with, and that's a real privilege. And to see that turned into community dollars and elevating the Indians brand just gets more people through the gates, and that is a really fun privilege.
Do we have any other questions as we near the end of our time? I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for being our panelists today. I know I learned a lot, and it was great to hear about what you guys do and awesome information for all of our educators. Thank you to everybody who attended today and for your patience as we worked through some technology issues there at the beginning. We will be sending out a follow-up survey. And we would appreciate your cooperation in filling that out for us. And if you would like to contact any of our panelists, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Cindy, and we can make sure we hook you up with their contact information so you can reach out. But otherwise, thank you all so much, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.